very strange walking into a bedroom that you spent many evenings in. I had this room as my bedroom for about 4 years or so. I've not been in here for 6 months. I've been living somewhere else, and walking back in here again, having all those memories of this room in my head, kind of, I don't know, it's a weird feeling. It's a feeling of kind of nostalgia. And yes, it is very recent history, very recent memories, but nonetheless it's kind of beautiful. I'm only here for about an hour and a half or half an hour or so, just say hello to my grandma, have some tea. But even being on this road, being in this town, again, after half a year of not being here, like I'm really happy where I am, like in Scotland. Like I'm really enjoying living there, making new friends, having new memories, creating new memories, and learning things about myself and my ability to travel. And of course I've missed this little creature here. Hello. What you doing? What you doing? Also, I got this back, my gorilla pod. I left it at my girlfriend's flat, so when she moved out it was like put in loads of boxes. But yeah, here it is, and there's me. Hello. This is my old room. Even going in here, looking at my old clothes, each t-shirt has a memory, each item of clothing. It's my old work uniform, jeans, work trousers, Christmas pudding jumper, a dressing gown that I wore pretty much every day for many years, 4 years or so. No, I'm saying many years, but yeah. I have a story. In order to get down to England, me and Charlotte had to get a coach from Inverness, which is here, to London, which is here. There was a changeover in Edinburgh. There was 2 passengers who were smoking in the toilets, which is prohibited, which is, you know, not allowed when you're obviously on public transport. Any public transport, you can't do that in the UK anyway. Nobody was told off at all. They knew what they were doing. It was harmless. Then we went to Aviemore. Another person came on who we thought was like a normal dude, like a normal nice guy. He had alcohol with him, like 4 pretty large bottles of, I assume, beer or cider. He got quite drunk. He was drinking and smoking in the toilets and being quite leery, being quite confrontational with other passengers. Luckily, we got off at Edinburgh. At that point, we thought we're never going to see him again, but it turns out that we were going to see him again. So when we changed to Edinburgh, there was a normal coach. The next coach was a sleeper coach, which is a bit more extravagant. There's toilets, there's Wi-Fi, it's, you know, it's grand. We got on there was only a handful of seats left, so me and Charlotte had to sit separately. I was sat here and Charlotte was sat here, so we could still, you know, hold each other's hands and that sort of stuff and still talk, but we were both sat next to other people. This guy got on. The guy got on. Yeah, quite drunk at this point. Larry. And this guy, by the way, he was like really big. He was not fat, but he was well built. He was tall. He was 6'4", I think. He was built like a tank. So obviously that's quite a threatening figure, especially when you're intoxicated as well. All of a sudden I started feeling a little bit anxious and a bit kind of panicky, and I was a bit and Charlotte felt the same as well. Like we be living in Scotland, bear in mind we haven't really spent a lot of time with other people. We've just been, you know, apart from obviously at work and that sort of stuff and with my father, but there was not a lot of human interaction. So the anxiety kind of kicked in quite a bit. Charlotte went up to ask the driver if we could sit in the disabled seats directly behind him. Down there it was darker, it was cooler, and it was just away from the crowd of people all sat down. And then about an hour later, when me and Charlotte were asleep, the driver woke us up very politely and said, "Do you smell smoke?" And, you know, we were sort of a bit disgruntled and a bit kind of, what? Then we said, there's a guy who was smoking in the toilets. He had been drinking again. He made an announcement asking people not to smoke in the toilets. He was aiming it, obviously, at the person who was smoking in the toilets, but it was like a general thing, which is fair enough. An American lady came down and complained about a certain passenger who was being very aggressive and not actually sitting in a seat. He was sitting on the emergency stairwell where the toilets are. Remember, he is a large, tall, you know, tank-like man. Then the driver stopped. Even though we weren't sat, you know, with the other passengers, I could kind of tell that there was a bit of tension brewing. I heard voices complaining at him because he was, being quite, aggressive. So then the driver called the police. I'm quite an immature person, so I always try to see the funny side, the brighter side of things. But this situation was something that I couldn't, predict. There was a lorry behind us, so we had to move so that obviously the lorry can go through. We did see the police car, but they were looking for us, but obviously because we had moved, they lost us, basically. I've struggled with social anxiety and speaking to people for quite a long time. Like, I use YouTube videos as a way of therapy, so I can talk and it rolls off my tongue and it feels brilliant, knowing that I can talk without stuttering. Sometimes I stutter every now and again, and it's a horrible feeling because it's like the words are caught in my throat. After about 10 minutes of being sat down, looking around, waiting, sort of tapping our fingers, being unsure of what's going to happen next, the guy came downstairs and said, "Why have we stopped? Like, can I have a fag, please?" So he had a cigarette outside, and about 10 other people all had cigarettes outside. I was tempted to go and join them and have a little vape, but I didn't in the end. The driver turned to me and said, "Can you do me a favour, please? Can you go upstairs and please can you call the police and just tell them where we are?" When he asked me that question, like, he asked me to call the police. I don't know, as just mentioned to you, like, phone calls, talking to new people in high pressure situations freaks me out a lot. So Charlotte stepped in and said, "Okay, look, I'll do it for you if that's okay with you." And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." Just as we were about to, the police arrived. Now that was pretty much the end of the story. He got arrested and that was it, done. But that was a very weird situation in my life, and I wanted just to kind of get it off my chest, because it's the fact that he asked me, and I don't know, I wish I was kind of braver, and I wish I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it," even though the police were right there. I've never ever called emergency services before in my life, and I don't really ever want to. I've had quite a few weird experiences on coaches, and that was definitely the most dramatic. I'm still tired from travelling, so I'm still reeling from the events. I didn't sleep for a whole day or so because obviously the tension, the anxiety, it all kind of kicked in. And that's why yesterday's video, when I was recording the video and I was in bed, it was very kind of like, and this one is as well. But today I'm just happy because I'm here in my old room, and it's just so nice to be here. So that's a weird story. It's a strange story, but it's a memory that we have. It's a shame that that event kind of ruined the whole travelling experience for me and Charlotte. But the driver, I think his name is Peter Young. I would like to just, if he ever sees this video, I would like to just say thank you for handling the situation so well. I'm definitely going to email Megabus and say thank you very much for having such a good driver who handled the situation so well. I'm going to be leaving this room soon, and sometimes during my depression it felt like a jail, but now in a weird way it feels like an art installation, like a box of memories. I used to look out this window here for long periods of time and like look at the kind of view that's over there and watch sunsets out of this window and look at the moon sometimes. Shame it's raining today. I would take you, on a nice walk or something, but it's just lovely to be here. And of course lovely to see Grandma as well. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you tomorrow.